So yes, my project has a name Private Lender REST API. So about me, I have IT background. I have worked mainly on IT infrastructure field. I have worked myself up to ICT manager, and then it still was boring for me. And I have always having a secret hobby or something like this as a being programmer. And I think about more than 10 years for now. And yes, now I am in rebooting myself, obviously. So to convert me from infrastructure and ICT management to development side. So the goal of this project is, to summarize all the knowledge we have obtained from the second module in the course. And yes, I will go over quickly. So we have I have built a database-backed REST API. It has basic security concerns handled using basically token-based authentication mainly, as well as role-based. And at least for me, as I have played with APIs before a little bit, documentation is quite a crucial part. And one API doesn't have much value without the documentation. So, but I am against to do the rather manual and annoying job. So I was looking for tools to make it as automatic as possible. And I will show you later what I've done. So this project actually is from my it's real life problem for me. I have some it's not the business measure at right now, but it's more or less some side hustle. I am loaning or lending money, and you need to keep track of things. So I decided that I will migrate my well advanced Excel-based things to more appropriate to more purpose-built application. So yes, the final setup of the product that I just started is yes to have a REST API. It would have a Vue.js front end. I'm thinking about integrating it with some digital document signing service. I'm using one right now, but I'm using it manually. But it has well-known API, and as well I am using this financial provider. So I am thinking about what I need to do to be able to use their API for these kinds of activities. But yes, it's possible to automate some kinds of communication with financial service provider as well. Yes, whether it will be Node.js, let's see, because I have some other thoughts too, but Node.js is one of those tools I also like. So I went a little bit different route compared to what we have learned in classes. The underlying knowledge is the same. Basically, I am using a little bit different tools that are kind of wrapped around the knowledge that we have learned throughout the classes. So yes, I'm using TypeScript as a language. It has certain powers or capabilities that pure.js does not have. And I also choose one framework. It's called TSED. So it's implemented in TypeScript. It has decent support and documentation for known web API development frameworks and tools. And now we're getting to the point. TypeScript provides it has the features that simplifies expressing the documentation, and as well as to maintain or keep up to date, which out of date documentation is more or less useless, or becomes useless. Okay, the demo. I discovered that my Postman got little glitchy, but I have another tool as well, actually. So I am like a little bit against recommendations, and I still try to use the tool to test the API beside the Postman that I actually used throughout the development. So I will zoom it up a little bit. So yes, this is just some text. Basically, you also already see it from the slides as well. But this is actually the overview of quite similar information you see from the Postman. I have here first section is controllers, and the other section is schemas. Basically, those are the shapes of data that is exchanged between the API. It's described is schemas for requests as well as for responses, and here is actually all the validation info as well that is applied to the model itself. So a quick demo. So let's imitate that we are an authenticated user. So this is one route that I know that is that has some security cards. From here, I can actually try it up. So I did a request. It was a GET request, and I got a response. The response was, unauthorized, and etc. Down below, actually, this is all the documentation about the route that I have described in code. The first is 200, which we didn't got, but sure enough, we did got 401. And as this tool provides to describe me, well, what would be the shape of the response of the error message as well. And it's possible to see this is like the JSON, and this is the documentation part of the same schema. And few highlights. Property string. Okay, it's not a perfect one. I promise I will show you the better schema a little bit later. Okay, I'm able to authenticate myself. I will do the request with the username and password. I don't have the luxury to save the JSON token automatically, but I have other means for this. I can just paste it right here. So now I should be authenticated. Let's see. Let's take the same route again. And the idea of this route is that the user who has logged in by using, let's see, by using the token itself, because I don't. I went to the route that the token allows to put various information within this data. So at the server, email address as identifier is extracted, and it is used to query the Mongo, and this is the response. Actually, this is the object of the user data who is currently logged on. And if you remember, that was the email address at when I was doing the logon. Well, yes. And basically rest of it, I don't know, maybe it's not, we are all, I think that by now we are familiar how REST world functions. You query the data, you manipulate it, and etc. I decided to put some focus about the tooling during my demo. All this information you see here, actually, I have written this information in the code, and all this information is generated automatically. So basically, if I'm completing writing the lines of the one specific endpoint or route with all the necessary info you see right here, for example, then I can immediately come to this page, to the refresh, and to the test. I don't have to type the request or test request twice to the postman, for example. I'm not telling. Well, it's during the the hot developing time. It's super useful tool actually. Okay. One example of let's see the schemas or the responses. This is actually data from the model, and let's see. We have some property. I don't have much of the control of the layout, but this is the information about the same property. Well, it's the name of the property, it's the type of the string, and now pay attention. I can reflect to the API user the business rules or other kinds of validation rules that it has some certain requirements, max length, min length, and this is example data that I have provided in the code. And when you, if you remember, when I was making a request, there was some JSON already there. This is based on the example data for every property. And yes, this is the descriptive name of the property, and etc. There are some little bit more complicated, especially this one, types as well. You know, monetary data is one tricky piece in the world of programming, and especially in JavaScript. And it's good to know what is the format of the data. So yes, I have here also array. This is the status, and this is enum that accepts exactly 3 different values. One of those, and also there is the property. It's in Mongoose language or Mongo language is the reference, and I can drill down to the actual other model that's embedded in here. So yes, all this information, validation information, and whatnot. It's clearly visible what is required and what's not, what isn't, what information when doing the request. So really, if the developer is building a client against one API, this kind of information has the value of the gold, more or less. Without it, you would be in the darkness. But to maintain one base of one document base is super annoying thing, especially for developers who are supposed to maintain it up to date. And here, yes, it's done automatically. Under the hood, actually, my project, there is one package I'm using, generates this information. It's quite long, but this is the base information of the last page. It describes all the paths. Let's see some schemas are those objects, and now we have a route. This is the route. This is the type of request, and these are the status codes that are expected from this API that I have described, and it's in this information. It's just one standard. It's called open API specification. So, and It's also possible to import this information to Postman as well. So my Postman is a little bit glitchy at the moment. Let's hope that it will work. So actually, I imported this information to Postman as well. It's exactly the same base information, but it's possible to see what kind of help it can provide when you're working with Postman as well. So this is the plain, one long page, quite human readable. And let's see some concrete examples. So here is some, okay, let's see the create user request. As you can see, it's a post. This is the address, all the header information. Well, I haven't tweaked everything, but it's really possible to tweak it as required. Here is example information that I have provided in code. It's all here. And actually, let me see. This is I will drill it down from here. Here are 3 examples. Success example, basically it will I have described that okay, if everything goes okay, you will get this response with this body, and all the headers as well is possible be described. And this is the when something goes wrong. Bad request basically means that the request has used bad data. It was user fault, and this is unauthorized expected response in case of unauthorized request. And yes, if we would drill down, we can see it all. But yes, it's quite human readable way already. And let's pick some random. Yes, it opened. I picked from the documentation one certain route. I choose this layout. It's possible to have a different layout as well for this API part. But if I click here, for example, it will open the request part. As I am not authenticated, it should give me some kind of okay. It was actually. Yeah, I'm not. I can't right now. I don't go into details what went wrong, but I was expecting that. Okay, some get would be greater. I would like to see some. Oh, okay, I still was authenticated already. Well, basically yes. All this sample information to simplify the testing is possible to describe in the code. So some overview. This is the how to say the results of the way I made this project. So let's end the demo. I promised that yes, one REST API is a REST API. It exchanges data basically. About project internals. Well, this was my initial thought about the schema I would implement. And if I took my Excel and thought it through a little bit that how I want this tool in the future would look like, I discovered that okay, there is about 3/4 already implemented. But Juan Pablo mentioned me that I should not be so ambitious. This is actually what I was able to implement during this time, but I would like to explain what happened. But basically, yes, I have like models. I oversimplified. I threw away all the attributes. Basically, this is some embedded document array within the contract. This is another. This is reference, and this is account, where well I need to know how much money I have made out of this activity. So I will use this entity to get to know it. and you know, the app user and credentials that are bound to one app user, and etc. Okay, about the code. Well, I saw one great example on the internet how to manage the password. I actually embedded it directly into user's model, and I used Mongoose's hook called save hook. So basically, from the controller side, I am accepting the data that is coming from the request. It is validated that you know, password has certain lengths and whatever, but here during the exactly before the save to the database, I will hash it, and actually to the same property I will put the hash. And for the sake of security, when the execution returns, I will clear up this property immediately, because I see that it's security-related information. It's wise to take care, and if it doesn't have to float around in the system, well, get rid of it fast. So this is some simple way to accomplish this. And actually, the last function of the user model, this is how I verify it. Basically, it accepts one password parameter, and when the model is retrieved from the database or the document, I can compare it from here. That this is reference to the document itself, and yes, I can hold this password related concerns within this model. It has some, you know, some things that I'm not very satisfied, but you know, I have time to think about it, how to further avoid leaking the password information around memory. What more? Oh, okay, I will switch back. Okay. Other interesting bits. I was mentioning about this or almost promoting this documentation thing that was generated automatically. Well, here is an example. As I'm using TypeScript, TypeScript has a system of types, but it works on top of JavaScript. It extends the JavaScript, but when the code is compiled, all those non-JavaScript things are thrown away, and what's left is you know, working JavaScript. But TypeScript has ability to provide a lot of meta information, and one of those cool features about TypeScript is decorators. They're basically some kind of wrappers, or you can even a little bit think about of those like a middlewares, but you can apply it not only to the route, but actually at the class level or at the function parameter level as well. And I can, so this is my authentication controller. This is there is a decorator controller. That's the first part of the route. Then it's just a description. It's not visible, but you know, the strings are here. Then I am telling that it is expected to get 401 at some conditions, but I can provide the knowledge to the developer, or yes, or the consumer. Here I am defining that it's the post request, and again the summary that was able. It's you can see it from the postman, and again when everything goes okay. This is, as we already know by now, 200 class statuses are, everything was more or less okay. And actually the description as well for this status, and if anything goes wrong, it 400 means bad request, that you please fix your query and do it again if like. And here are some authentication. I am applying authentication middleware with this decorator. And actually, all that is flowing up to this function, actually the middleware is doing all the work. It is if the data is okay, the user is created, and here I'm just getting the JWT token, and it's the controller's responsibility to pass it to the client. It's not the controller's responsibility to do the authentication itself. It's done in the middleware. So this is the example of the pipeline that we have learned. And here there are two parameters, and here I am expressing that I want to get this parameter out of locals object. And here I am telling that, okay, this type of model or the schema, I don't use it because that's why I'm using this underscore name. It's this line here is for documentation, but for the in documentation, it's visible that, okay, something needs to be put into the body parameters. It's definitely required, and etc. So if you have questions so far, you can ask, and if not, I would continue. Okay, I already touched the question of the how to express middlewares. So this is an example of another controller. This is some controller that definitely needs to be protected. Controller is something similar, like we have learned from classes. It's something similar like router in Express. Yes, here I am telling the description, and here is some security related information. Actually, the Swagger tool knows that he needs to show this the place to paste this JWT token. Again, authentic security related middleware, and here I built myself one middleware to narrow down that only this kind of role can go further. Yes, to can query any route from this controller. Okay, this one I have already touched. Oh, there are some text too. What I like about this framework is that it also provides dependency injection quite naturally. Actually, this is the line. The thing is that to get the contract service, I don't need to instantiate it by myself. This class is free of the internal knowledge how this service needs to be built up, what it needs to work. This is done some other certain component called the container. So yes, it has these capabilities as well. Yes, this is loses coupling, so the application components are not tied together that much. It's important for application testing. And this is actually the same controller. One of let's see, it's the get. It will be together like contracts / client / person code. It's the get request, and here you can see that, okay, I have defined one more role and etc. And here is some path parameter ID that I'm expecting. I can tell that it's required, so it will pop into the face of the consumer that you need to provide it. So to be explicit. Okay. Yes, why I choose TypeScript. It simplifies code reuse. It seems like I need to write more code, all this meta information about the types and etc. But it will give me the, well, I think that the adequate sense of security that I have built up my relations between my code symbols or components in a way that I'm not messing up with types. It doesn't make the software perfect or think for me, but it definitely allows to avoid some super uncomfortable bugs from the software using those types. Yes, basically, this is example. Actually, I am using. I have in my application thing called the service layer, and service layer's responsibility is to serve the controllers. My controllers doesn't access the database because that's not the controller's responsibility. Controller's responsibility is to serve the requests, not do the other things. It will delegate its job to the service class. And actually, most of my service classes are that thin, but it will provide me those well-known actions like find, delete, create, and etc. So yes, I think I'm over time already. So if there are questions, I would like to hear.